Welcome back to Energetically You. I'm your host, Megan Swan. I'm a mindset and wellness coach. I help women optimize their wellness through plant-based nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and mindset practices so they feel more aligned and confident in their own skin. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Corbie Mitleid, and I see now in her bio that she calls herself Reverend, so I don't know about that. We're going to ask, but she has a really powerful story. I'll quickly read you her bio and tell you why I'm so excited to interview her. So, Corbie Mitleid knows the value of the examined life. Through divorce, abuse, poverty, and life-threatening illnesses, she found that meeting challenges and asking the next question meant facing each situation with strength, courage, and humor. Today, she brings a full toolbox to her work as an intuitive consultant and teacher with a globe-spanning career and clients worldwide. Still, her clients treasure her attitude of, "I'm not special, you can do what I do." We have opportunities we can go after and challenges to get past, she says firmly. Quote, "My job is to give you the tools and courage to deal with both situations. Everything else is free and will and up to you." So as a survivor of breast cancer, I am really humbled to interview this very powerful woman. So let's dive in. Welcome this morning, Corbie Mitleid. How are you today?
Wonderful. It is a glorious fall day with all the colors here in upstate New York. It's the best time of year.
I agree. I love the shawl or cover you're wearing. It's so colorful and in line with my favorite colors.
This is a butterfly coat. It's a McCall's pattern that a friend found, and I have like 9 of them now because you can ball them up, throw them in the suitcase, throw them in the wash, no problem.
Butterfly coat. Ooh, I love that. I got to get on board. All right. Well, I'm so honored to have you here this morning and to dive deeper a little bit into your story because it is an extremely powerful one. And I know you have so much to share with people. So why don't you start by telling my audience why you reached out to me, what that you wanted to share about the very powerful life lessons that life has brought you.
Because it is one tough puppy of a world out there right now. We are facing things that my generation, the boomers, never thought we'd face. And so old answers simply don't work. The way I've gotten through everything that I've done, it's basically a life called roller coaster, no brakes, is I've lived the examined life. Something happens. You may not really want it, but it's there. You got to look at it and say, okay, breathe. What's the lesson? For me personally, how can I go teach with it? Next. Do not define yourself by your challenges. You are who you are. The challenges are simply what you go through to become more of yourself.
Yeah. Can you give us a couple of examples of how some hard things in life have helped you self-actualize?
Oh, of course. The big thing was that I have done the cancer dance 3 times. Now, right there, notice I don't say I fought cancer, because what you fight fights back. And I am not a survivor because I do a lot more than hang on by teeth and toenails. Cancer dancers find out how graceful they can be under pressure, avoid getting their toes stepped on, and get off the dance floor in one piece. Now, I was born, normal kid. By the time I was 11, though, I matured early. I had a Dolly Parton figure, literally. Put a brunette wig on her, and there you are. And with a very dysfunctional family and an alcoholic mother who never felt good about herself and then saw her gorgeous daughter and was threatened. I was pretty well mentally and emotionally damaged by what I looked like. So I thought that the body was a bargaining chip. That was all I was worth. I was never allowed to say no because I was a walking advertisement. Now that can really screw you up. Basically, I got breast cancer the first time when I was acting in New York. 4 lumpectomies, radiation at Sloan Kettering, but I went on. In 2000, I got skin cancer from the radiation. They were misshapen, they were scarred, they were still there. Got married in 2002, finally to the right guy. Yes, we're still married. And in 2004, I had microcalcifications, which was a second primary, turn the clock back to zero. But the doctors at Mass General said, okay, 3 strikes, you're out. We're taking the rack. We're taking the ovaries because we need to cut your hormones off completely. And you're going to go from this Dolly Parton figure with a libido of a 17-year-old boy to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And you will be on the shelf because we're going to damage you so much internally, you'll never have sex again. Suck it up. Now,
literally they phrased it that way, or that was your paraphrasing?
What the doctor said to me when he walked in is, well, you have cancer both sides. So we are going to take both breasts, and here's the name of the plastic surgeon, and walked out.
Brutal.
I had 2 surgeons. He was the oncology surgeon. He was a horror show. My plastic surgeon, well, we call her Madame Artiste and Doc Miracle because she is and she makes them. But there I was, married a year and a half. I had no idea if my husband would even stay. Who would I be without all this?
Mm-hmm.
So I went home and cried for 24 hours because I'm normal. But then I knew from all the life lessons I'd learned, I have to find 3 reasons to be okay with this, no matter how stupid they are. So I said, great. You don't have them. You can't get cancer there. That's good. The top half is not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year. And every woman listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. Implants? Okay, I'll be perky till I'm 93. Got out of Mass General in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5 after a 6-hour operation of double mastectomy and reconstruction. That was 2004. This is 2021. This is what 66 looks like.
Amazing. Whew.
Yeah, I'm breathing too. I've told that story hundreds of times, but you still relive a spark of it with a memory when you talk about it, which is one of the reasons why I don't identify myself like a lot of people, hi, I'm Corbie and I'm a cancer survivor, or I'm even a cancer dancer. There is so much more about me. I'm an author. I'm an intuitive counselor. I have clients worldwide. I have a 20-year successful relationship. That's what's interesting about me, not what happened to me before.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot interesting about you. So where to start in that story? I love the use of the word dance in your identity, in your narrative. When did you attach to that word or find it as a way of reframing?
I think it was pretty much organic. And as soon as I was done, all the drains were out, we knew that the implants were settled, I started using that because people, look, to be honest, I'm a charismatic. People come to me and they want stories and they want to talk to me. And so I always need to find a way to put my life in a story so that they can use it. There is a massive sign above our fireplace that says, when you trip in life, make it part of your dance. And it probably came from that.
So have you looked at how your relationship with your mother and how that shaped your view of your own body?
Oh, absolutely. Part of my work was I was one of the 4 major channels with Robert Schwartz for his book series on life between lives. Your soul's playing your soul's gift and your soul's love. And my mother and I did have a karmic agreement because part of my lessons for this lifetime were to learn to accept my body, to not see a woman's body as a bargaining chip, to be okay for being in a woman's body, because I think most of my reincarnations I come down as a guy and maybe not such a great guy. So she and I had this agreement. And the way I explain things to people is, yes, you come down with these pre-birth plans, but you've got free will. You're going to graduate with the right information, but you can either go in one direction and make it a gut course, or the other direction and do double major plus lab. Now, when my mother told me how worthless I was except for my body and that I had no right to say no, this was when I was 16, and because of a box of Conceptual she found in my dresser drawer, which my three best high school buddies and I got and looked at, because like, what is this? One of them accidentally squirted against the wall. We giggled, we wiped it off, but she saw one missing and she assumed I was already having sex. Mm-hmm. So she was enraged. She felt her daughter was a whore, and she made sure that I knew that's what she thought. Now, I could have said, oh yeah, I'll show you, and stayed a virgin till I was married. But instead I thought, wow, she must know something about my worth that I'm not seeing. So from that point, I mean, I went out and very clinically found someone to get rid of my virginity within 3 weeks, because I thought I didn't even deserve to be a virgin. Mm-hmm. All of this, 40, 50 years later, I understand where it came from and why. Because frankly, if I hadn't gone through all the hell I went through, I would not be the inspirational speaker I am now. I would not be the author I am now. I would not be able to deep dive with my clients in their pain and say, I hear you. I see you. There's a way out of it. So maybe it would have been a more pleasant life without it, but I don't know who I would be if I didn't have all these challenges to rise above. And so in that sense, I'm not angry at her. I'm grateful. She and I planned it ahead of time. How can I be angry at her? She had a very difficult life herself. She was the youngest in a first generation German, Russian, American family. Her parents had a little corner store. They lived above the store. My father was a doctor. They met when she was a nurse and he was a doctor in Baltimore. And when Dad brought Mom home to introduce her to his parents, his mother was appalled, because his mother had all kinds of different plans for him, not marrying this poor little nothing. Mm-hmm. And so for the 38 years they were married before she died at age 59, my grandmother made my mother's life hell. My mother never did anything right. My mother was always trash. So my mother didn't have any self-confidence. When she found out that both I and my brother had inherited my father's genius IQ, and we were both so creative, she felt isolated in her inadequacy. Of course she lashed out. Mm-hmm. I get that. You do the best you can with what you got, and she was handed a very rough deck of cards.
Yeah. So one last question on that. The way you told the original story, do you connect that mother wound as a precursor to your cancer, or are those in your mind?
Absolutely. No, that was the trip trigger. Had I said, oh yeah, I'll show you I'm a virgin and stay a virgin, and married someone and stayed married because I knew how to choose correctly, I don't think the cancer would have surfaced in this lifetime. But when you hate your body as much as I did, what's that going to do? Mm-hmm. Because I thought my body trapped me. It may be all I was worth. It may be the only way I could understand myself, but it didn't mean that was the way I wanted to. But I thought I had to.
Yeah. So I noticed you're a reverend. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us that story?
Yes, but it's nothing that's earth-shattering. It's practical and funny. I am a non-denominational minister, Order of Melchizedek, Sanctuary of the Beloved. I got it originally for two reasons. One ridiculous, one sublime. The ridiculous reason is when I would go down and do holistic expos and psychic fairs down south of the Mason-Dixon line for many years, they would look at you and go, you're evil, you're a fortune teller, you do Satan's work. And I'd go, no, I'm a reverend, it's pastoral counseling. Oh, we are so sorry, Reverend, you go right ahead. Seriously.
I believe.
The other reason, though, was before it was the law of the land, I had a lot of friends who backed for the same team. I mean, you cannot be an actor in the United States and not have a plethora of gay and lesbian friends. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, if they wanted sacred ceremony, by God, I was going to make sure they had it. It's easier now that it is law.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, why deny them that joy? If I could do it for them, I wanted to.
Amazing. So how many couples have you married?
Oh, maybe a dozen over the years. Because remember, you can get your $5 universalist, whatever. And if you want your best buddy to marry you, you can do that. But what I found was I'm what I call a hedge priest. I may not have a congregation, but I'm there when you need me. I have held a funeral for a stillborn child. I've done house blessings. I've held funerals for animals, that, very close service dogs, therapy horses. And that's important. Grieving is part of the human process. None of us has an extended warranty. One day your ticket is going to get punched, you or your animals or anybody that you love. And so closure for the heart is as important as anything else.
Yeah, I'd love if you could speak on that a bit more. Here, I've been living in Mexico for 12 years, and Mexican tradition is much more embracing of death and ceremony.
Dios de los Muertos, yes, of course.
Yeah, we're coming up on Day of the Dead, for one, but also when someone passes away here, there's a 24-hour ceremony, and all the family comes from all over the country, and they sit with the body for 24 hours. And some people are crying, some people are just chatting. There's coffee, there's cake. It's very different than the way I grew up in Canada, where, generally speaking, you don't even bring small children to funerals. And I love that the one that caught me off guard was the blessing of the house. Like, I feel like there's this resurgence of spirituality, and part of the reason is we are disconnected with a lot of our traditions and rituals that not that long ago were pretty common.
And, if you don't have any particular traditions and rituals, so make some. To talk about the death thing, I know that the Jewish tradition here in the United States is to sit Shiva, which is for 7 days. People come, they extend their condolences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of my particular, if you will, rituals is New Year's Eve. We don't party. That is when I sit down and I write my overview of the year. So I've got that record while it's fresh. I write what I want for the year, and it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And I pull a bunch of cards. I don't read for myself generally, but once a year, Spirit comes through pretty clear and says, boom, 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 boom. And amazingly enough, they're usually pretty accurate, so I have an idea of what to do. Traditions anchor us. It doesn't mean that we get locked in. And they can morph. The book I'm writing right now is called Elder and Apprentice. And I'm wildly fortunate in that I found an absolutely incandescent 14-year-old under 2 years ago. And she's going to be one of the best readers I have ever known in my life. Already, she understands it. And so we got a couple of books, Teen Witch, Teen Psychic. You said, these are adults talking to adults. There's nothing in there that I really resonated with. I said, then let's write it ourselves. And we are. And as an elder, elders are different from boomers. An elder truly understands that they are moving off the stage, and they willingly bring in the millennials, the Gen Zs for the spotlight. They do have some timeless wisdom, which they'll offer if asked politely. But if they find an apprentice, someone that they're willing to make a lifelong bond with, they pass it on. And see, boomers think everything should be like it was with the boomers. The world doesn't exist the way it did with us. And we have to understand that. So when Ula and I are doing a reading or looking at a situation, One of the things we did recently is she was trying to figure out, how do I talk to this person versus that person? I said, well, here's part of it. Boomers and Gen Xers, we have been taught to be victims. We have. Look at the reality shows. You didn't get the wonderful makeover. You didn't get the great new house unless you were a victim.
Mm-hmm.
You did so much and nobody gave back. So for you to be a normal person and do good things and not be a victim, you got nothing. So they think that's how I have to work. Millennials and Gen Zs know there is no time to be a victim because the world is burning, because everything they understood is crumbling. So, excuse me. So everybody has to pitch in and be team. Everybody has to be a volunteer. And so how you read for a boomer or a Gen X is very different from how you would read for millennials and Gen Zs. I get that, and now she gets that. So that's how things move forward. That's also part of being irreverent, you know? We're supposed to inspire the next generation, but we don't inspire by saying, do what we did. We inspire them to be better than we were, wiser than we were, more effective than we were. Sorry, I got on my soapbox again.
No, I've got chills for a couple of things you said there. Totally agree with you on all those marks. Where to dive deeper? Well, how do you think we best inspire them to do better?
When you say inspire the Gen Zs and the millennials,
Mm-hmm.
we admit we were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We admit we blew it. You know, I'm going to make a pop culture reference. I admit I loved Lucifer. I loved Tom Ellis. And spoilers, in the very last one where his daughter, Angel, is about to kill someone, he looks at her and he says, you've got to be better than this. You've got to be better than me. Please be better than me. And that gets through to her. And in a sense, that's what we're saying. Be better than us. You can't be worse. Yes, boomers did a lot of great things. We brought lots of technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we did it not looking at the greater good. A lot of it was done for profit. I mean, look at Zuckerberg. Look at the fact that he's taken Facebook, which, yes, is useful, and willingly destroyed people's lives for money. Gen Zs and millennials know better. They have no patience with that. And good. They shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
So if they tell us we're wrong, I'll say, yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah, how can you do better?
Yeah, my first everything you just said, and also not that this gives us any exit, but we were raised and lived in a culture that taught us that we shouldn't care about those things, or allowed us to feel free of caring about them, I think, to a fault.
Yes. You know, it's not like this in other countries. America is specifically really bad at this. I have friends who are right now for a 5-year business gig living in Ireland, and I'm watching their lives blossom. They have kids. They're now speaking Gaelic as well as English. Americans aren't taught another language. We're so big, everybody should come and, learn English and talk to us. We were deliberate, the old American exceptionalism. We're the exception to everybody else's rules. And to be perfectly honest, America has been systematically dumbed down, so we're easier to control. We are sheeple. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what is happening in Congress, one party is the party of old white supremacists, and they are doing everything they can to destroy this country so they maintain power. Eventually, they're all going to die. And maybe America will swing back, or maybe America will be rubble. We don't know. But right now, all we can do is reach out one-to-one with each other. Yes, do voter registration if you can. But if that doesn't work, what candle are you going to hold in the darkness for those around you? That's the thing. You can no longer just be for you. Does it mean that you should make yourself miserable for everybody else? Does it mean that you should burn yourself out and never take care of yourself? No. But there is a balance. Let's take, what I do. I used to work 7 days a week. I don't anymore. I work 6. Wednesdays are the day off when I can breathe. There are certain nights of the week I won't work because I want to spend time with my husband. We're in our late 60s. How much time do we have? But all of the other time, I am one-pointed focused on my clients. I am grateful that I get to be in service. So there is that balance. There is that balance. You have to take care of yourself, but not exclusively. There's the old saying, you can't drink from an empty cup. Yeah, but if your cup is full, you have to offer it to others as well.
Yeah. What do you think? I personally see there being a movement, I'm not going to say revolution, movement to more and more women starting their own businesses, and many of these businesses are in service. And
it's what we are taught to do. It is.
Definitely. And also, like you say, it is, we tend to be attracted to opportunities that allow us to have a positive impact. Mm-hmm. And so let's full circle. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Okay.
Work.
Yes. I am a intuitive counselor. The street name for that is psychic medium. I am a past life specialist. I'm a channel. I'm a certified tarot master. But I do not do what I call glurpy purple with angels. Let's see what the angels are saying today. Oh, they love you. Oh, please. My whole gig is here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. I teach my clients not to ask yes or no questions, because if you said, is my business going to be successful? And I would look at you and say, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge. Where do you go? So I have, a deep dish spread, a card for you, a card for energy around your business, the brick and mortar location, marketing, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know and best possible outcome. Why do I know to do that? I used to be an executive recruiter. I've had a very checkered career before I went psychic full time, though I went part-time in 94. So my clients know, yes, you're going to laugh because I'm funny. I've done stand-up about what it's like to be a psychic these days. But when people laugh, they lower their shielding and their information goes in. I mean, face it, how many times have women been told, well, you really should be more assertive. You really need to learn to do your boundaries, blah, blah, blah. I have a little postcard that I hold up and I say, here are your 5 magic words. And the postcard says, no is a fabulous idea. They'll remember that. When I work with the tarot, I explain the allegory in it. So that stories are how mankind moved ahead for centuries. People want stories. They don't want to be lectured to. They want to hear once upon a time. And they internalize it and they move forward and they don't get told they're wrong all the time. God, that's a debilitating thing.
Yeah, I know the brain is wired, in fact, for us to learn best through story. And
yes.
And it's just, like you say, a little bit kinder. No?
Mm-hmm. A lot kinder. It's why my first book, which was a self-help book, deals with clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. But I don't say, do everything I tell you, it all gets better. I mean, there's not one person out there that didn't buy a self-help book. And it has a great title and a good cover, but you get it home and you say, what do you mean I can't eat foods with leptin and I have to do yoga at 4 a.m? I live in Milwaukee. I have 2 preschool kids and I have a job. Don't be ridiculous. So my book says, here's some of the stupid things I did. Maybe I'll tell you a client story and maybe I'll give you a couple of thoughts. But at the end of each chapter are what I call the adventure pages, where there are questions that help you look at your own life. And how would you do things differently? Not because I said A, B, and C, but because they invite you to be able to change. By the end of that book, that's your personal manual. Your friend could buy the book at the same time. If they do all the questions in the back, it's a different book for them. People need to know they have their own answers. It's not always a guru, honey. Gurus are there for money.
100%. So what's one thing you would have done differently?
I might have been more careful in who I chose to marry. The first guy I married because he's the first one that seemed to care about me at all. I figured because of what my mother had told me, well, I better marry this guy. No one else will want me. And that marriage lasted less than a year. And when he started hitting me, I left. 10 years later, I married a second guy. He'd been married 3 times. I'd been married once, but we were friends. I figured, all right, that's all I'm going to expect. And in 2 years, he decided he didn't want to be married and left for California. Meanwhile, he had moved us to Atlanta. Now, I'm sorry, I am not a magnolia. I'm a bagel. I needed to come home to New York. And these were 2, the edgy guys that all girls go for. And then when I moved back up to New York, I met a guy who was a dead ringer for Father Mulcahy on MASH, and completely different. For one thing, clean shaven. I always went for beards. Frugal, honest, monogamous, steady job. And I was determined I wasn't going to fall in love again. But he and I both slid down the glass mountain, and we did. And I didn't know that this is what I wanted until I had it. But this marriage has lasted 20 years. The other 2, if I had been married to them for only a year and a half and then got the cancer diagnosis and what they were going to do to me, they would have left. But my current husband's answer was, am I going to miss them? Oh yeah, they were gorgeous. But I married you, not them. It's been, I will say, a rough road. Not that we don't love each other, but to have your expectation of what marriage is going to be blown up in your face. And then you have to create something entirely new. It has been a work in progress for the 21 years we've been together. But I think we love each other more now than we did then because of the work. So
beautiful. So can you leave us with this time of the year, lots of breast cancer awareness? Is there something that you do, a ritual or something that you find helpful that you want to share?
I think about who I am now. I always remember believe it or not, my talisman is from Men in Black. If you remember the guy who dead on the floor and they press the little button at the ear and his face flips open, there's the little dude running the gears up there. We're the little dude. We're running the body. The body is not us. The body is the vehicle. The body will eventually wear out, but the little dude will go upstairs and get a new car and come back down. So I remind myself that the body is a learning tool. It's not me. And that takes away the regrets, the fears, I should have been better. Because this, in the brain pan, that's what matters. That's what affects the world. Remember, if they got to take the rack, it's not who you are. They're fat bags pinned to the front like Tupperware. Who's inside?
Well, when you say it like that, who wants them, right?
Look, they're not taking out your liver. You can go without these. And frankly, I used to be a 44 triple D. What I would have looked like at 62 if I still had them as opposed to my little perky implants. No, this is better. Thank you very much.
Definitely. You look gorgeous in your, what is it called? Butterfly
coat. McCall's 6468. Go back and look on Amazon, find the pattern. You too can have a butterfly coat.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time on your day off. I didn't know it was your day off to chat with us.
It was a pleasure. No, really. Let me compliment you before you go. You asked some good questions, you asked things that moved thought forward. You didn't just go from a Q&A list, and you're rare. And so thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Corbie. And let's just quickly talk about your last name and how it fuels you.
Yes, my legal name has no wiki-woo value to it. So Corbie Mitleid is a chosen name. I say my normal is to Corbie Mitleid like Reg Dwight is to Elton John. Corbie is because I love ravens, and Mitleid is German. It means compassion, and it reminds me why I do the work I do.
Well, thank you so much for the work you do, and we'll be in touch in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Take care. Have a beautiful day.
Be safe.
Oh my goodness, that was such a special interview. I'm looking forward to sharing it. And we'll be sharing all the ways that you can work with Corbie. And I apologize for mispronouncing her last name right off the top. You all know that I'm horrible with pronunciation in general. But I love how she's really fueled by the history of her name. And I am so excited to look her up and have a reading, because I've never had anyone explain their work just quite like that. And I can tell you, when someone has so much life history, so many different careers and experiences, they bring so much more to that kind of work that I know if you get a reading with her, it'll be extremely enlightening. I'm going to get one for myself and my business pretty soon here. So thank you again for being here. If you enjoyed the show, please take a screenshot and tag me, share it on social media. You can find me at Megan Swan Wellness on all the platforms, but I spend the most time on Instagram. I'm looking forward to being back next week. Have a beautiful morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Love for now.